All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Strong podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Dickens, and tonight we've got Zane Nicholson and Ryan Marsh to talk about the upcoming PEI Strongest Man competition happening on October 10th. So, good evening, guys. How you making out?
Good, good. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
thanks a
on.
lot, Jordan. No. Hey, before we get into it, Jordan, I saw the 261 feet go at the 210 weight at Picto's competition. That looked ridiculous.
That was hard. They got so it was two pieces of train rail stacked and welded with a handle. And I guess they've been using those handles for a long time, like years and years and years, because people were messaging me. We were talking in a group chat, guys that hadn't competed there in like 5 years were talking about those handles. I think Jordan Profit got like 390 feet.
I was
Wow.
just checking the results out before, and it's ridiculous what you guys do for a
Uh,
friendly.
yeah, yeah. So I was the first one to get a really good distance. 262. I was like, oh, I got this in the bag. This is who's gonna beat 262. And then Dylan did 300. Matt Sartoris did over 350, and then Jordan Profit did 390. Like, oh, he almost made it 400 feet.
And I got to say, it was kind of cool to see it on World's Strongest Fan on YouTube to give little Nova Scotia competition like some real good traction. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd sent. I've talked to that guy before, but that was the first time I sent anything in for the subscriber video that he does every month or so. So hopefully we'll get some more Atlantic Canadian stuff onto the channel.
We'll definitely have to send something in for some PEI stuff going.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So PEI Strongest Man's on October 10th.
Yep.
Uh, and it's on the western end of the island.
Yes, sir.
Do you know Alex Wallace at all?
No, I don't.
So Alex Wallace, he competed in the Atlantics a number of times and was PEI Strongest Man for a handful of years.
Yeah, for a
He
long time.
has, I think, the only strongman gym left on PEI, and he was gracious enough to help us out and let us use it for pro bono. So it's the best price you can get. And he generally hosts it up there. So this is a little bit of a combination of Ryan Marsh's Strongtober and Alex Wallace's PEI Strongest Man. It's a little later than the strongman would generally be for PEI. And just combining those two competitions, having a nice, fun comp, and making it so that PEI athletes get to actually dip their toe into something. Not a whole lot of us travel outside PEI to compete, so it was great having kind of both those competitions meld together to become this one that's becoming a pretty big beast.
Awesome. So so it's gonna be inside at a gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we get a good day, we'll take a couple of the events outside. We do have a bag over bar that would be preferable outside, and there's a car hold. If it happens to be a little sour, then we can move. We can change up the car deadlift a little bit and change it up a little bit. But I'm really hoping to get outside and, you know, get out of the gym and get right back to the old school kind of strongman.
Yeah, the competitions that have kind of come out of the woodwork, post COVID, starting in August with Raw Power. This is going to be we had Raw Power, Newfoundland Strongest, the Picto Friendly, Atlantic Canada Strongest Man, now PEI's Strongest Man. I know there was another smaller competition in Middleton, Nova Scotia last weekend that Crushers Gym put on. So, since the beginning of August, we're looking at six strongman competitions now are going to go through. There's already been 2 powerlifting competitions since August. There's Nova Scotia Provincials coming up and the WPC competition at Renfrew. So,
Yeah, November 7th.
post COVID, we're going to come out of this with 6 strongman competitions in Atlantic Canada and 4 powerlifting competitions. So we've done fairly good, I'd say.
Yeah, we're kind of piling it all in.
Yeah.
Right at the end too, eh? It seemed that the strongman schedule in powerlifting, whenever you looked at it, was back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
I think
So,
the
yeah,
Atlantic bubble had a
Atlantic
lot to
Canada's-
do with that.
So Atlantic Canada's Strongest Man's October 3rd, and then PEI Strongest Man's October 10th.
Yeah.
And so have you guys got a lot of registrations so far?
We only have 2 slots left. We were 80% full within 48 hours. We opened it up to the Islanders first for the first week to try to, especially for the amateur category, to fill in with some people that were kind of on the fence. And there's about a dozen guys that went for the amateur. We have 6 gals in for PEI Women's Strongest Man. And right now we had 6 pros, but one had to back out due to injury. So we're at 5. So we're hoping to find another pro fella, but everybody's coming out of the woodwork on the island wanting to give this a try. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah, the
That's
sport's
awesome.
growing here for sure.
Yeah, I talked to a couple guys from Newfoundland a couple weeks ago before Newfoundland's Strongest Man, and they were saying the same thing, especially in the the novice or amateur division. They're going like gangbusters. They've even had to over in Newfoundland. For next year they're going to implement a qualification for Newfoundland's Strongest Man because they've had so many people interested.
That's awesome.
So they're going to hold smaller competitions throughout the year with a point system like the Arnold.
Okay, cool.
And you've got to get 3 points to qualify for the big show. So it's pretty cool that they've got enough interest, or at least they think they'll have enough interest that they can fill up smaller shows and have people fight to qualify for Newfoundland Strongest Man and Woman.
Yeah, kind of feeder shows for the big one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So let's get into the events. How many categories are you going to have for men and women?
Just the 2, male amateur and male pro. We'll let people kind of pick and choose on what they want to do. We left the weights a little bit lighter so it'd be more of an accessible show for people, especially since we didn't know if the Atlantic bubble was going to last. Whenever we were making it, there started to be a couple cases of the Rona kicking around. So we only have so many people to pick from. We chose the 6 events going off of what Worlds was giving us. So all of our events, what we kind of did is we sat down and we kind of took a look at what Worlds was doing for their finale and tried to pretty much just cut it in half. So that's how we came with our events. We thought that'd be the most fairest way. Nobody's picking them. It's somebody, probably Colin Bryce, that's picking them. So we thought that was the most fairest way. And people are pretty excited about the stuff that we're bringing up. So
right on. So what's the first event of the day going to be?
So it's actually going to be a little bit different. We're breaking, because we have so many people, we're kind of breaking the competition up into 2 because there's only so much space in the gym.
Yeah.
So by the looks of it, the male amateurs is starting off with a farmer's yoke, and the people that are going for PEI Strongest, men and women, looks like bag over bar. We need to iron out a couple things. I'm going up on the weekend to do a little bit of a dry run with a couple of the fellas, and just to get those last little squeaks done. But it looks like farmer's yoke and bag over bar.
Right on. So what are the do you know what the weights are going to be for the farmers and yoke medley?
Sure. For the women, it's 120 a hand and 300 yoke. For male amateur, it's 185 and 450 yoke. And then for the open, it's 250 a hand and 550 yoke. The weights might change for the male pro. We had them a little bit lighter. We're trying to keep them lighter and accessible, but they might bump up a couple pounds.
Those yoke weights are, I'd say they're light for all three categories. Like especially
We have the males and the amateur males and the amateur females. Over half of those categories haven't touched strongman stuff before last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that everyone's going to go home to Thanksgiving dinner in one piece. But definitely with a couple of the weights in the pro category, we're probably going to squiggle around a little bit.
Yeah.
But the amateur and the female, that's kind of what sold people.
Yeah.
Not everybody's felt 450 pounds in their back before. They think that they have a good squat at 3 plates, but popping on another 140 pounds is something else.
It's something else. Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing too. Like the show has to be accessible for the pool of athletes that we have here as well. And much like Newfoundland, I think that a lot of the island athletes that were, say, more towards the elite side of things years past have kind of transitioned out of strongman, maybe more into a coaching role or facilitation role like Alex is now. Not to say that he doesn't compete still, but a lot of that community of athletes has kind of moved on to other things. So a lot of the athletes that we have here, with the exception of a few, are athletes that are kind of getting more towards getting into the sport and maybe also into powerlifting or something else previously. But especially like Zane said, a lot of the female and amateur athletes that we have obviously need that experience. And the only show we've had previous to this in a couple of years is one last year, and then the one that I had, Strongtober, that was referenced earlier. So we definitely have to leave the door open for athletes to be able to compete and actually be competitive instead of just failing everything or what have you. So
yeah, and you're not going to know if it was too light or too heavy until after it's all done.
right. Yeah, and this will give us a good baseline moving forward into 2021, kind of what we can expect from a lot of the athletes here in PEI, because regardless of whatever banner a show is under, these athletes are all going to be, the athletes going to all these shows, whether it's Zane and I putting it on or someone else or whatever. So yeah, this will give us a good baseline, especially for the new community of athletes that are trying to transition into strongman, to kind of have an idea of where they lay moving forward and into even interprovincial shows next year, as a lot of our athletes, as you know, have competed interprovincially as well.
Right on.
Yeah.
So what's event 2 going to be?
So flip-flops for the males and females, or the males, females, and the amateurs. So the bag over bar event, we're going to start off at 10 feet, and then every successful throw raises it a foot. So we just made ourselves a bag over bar. I think we've trained on it, I think, every day every day that we're out there for the last 2 weeks or so trying to get ready.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It really is.
It is.
It goes to a max of 16 feet. The gals have a 20-pound bag to chuck, amateurs 25, and then pros looking at 35.
Right on.
Yeah.
So that's the first 2 events. What's event 3?
So everybody comes together.
You gonna do 3 and 4, and flip them, or then are they going to come together?
We're going to bring everybody together because we still want to build that community. Have everybody rubbing elbows with some people that have trained off island or have competed off island. So the next one is deadlift for reps, and it's head to head. So 2 plates, gals, 3 plates, amateur 4 plates, guys 75 seconds. Once again, that pro might sneak up a little bit. The whole goal is that everybody can at least do 1, and then the guys that are good are going to be hopefully repping 10, 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our third
That one's
event.
going to be brutal.
Right in the middle of the comp. Usually the deadlift, the very first thing or the very last thing. So
blow your back out before the rest.
Nervous system go back.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, you're going to have the upper portion of each category getting 12, 13, 15 reps for sure.
Oh, easy. Yeah. It's going to be a mix of strength and endurance for sure in that
Yeah.
event, especially going head to head too. It's going to get competitive.
Yeah. Cool.
I have a feeling that that's my dead last event. I'm really looking forward to it. But you got to have a deadlift.
Yeah.
Well, you got to have a deadlift. Are you going the pro side, Zane?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we both are.
So,
Well, Zane should have went open at heavier than hell.
hey, I still only came second. Brandon's one hell of an athlete. I did jump up to the open class for the raw power weekend. That was some good experience going up against guys like Dylan Frazier. But I gotta say, it was a whole heck of a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get whooped again this time and lick my wounds and maybe travel over across again.
Right on. So we've got farmer's yoke medley, bag over bar, deadlift for reps. What's the next event?
Yeah, head yourself into a car hold or the log ladder or log for reps. So it'll be once of those flip events again. So for the car hold, it's kind of hard to tell what the weight's going to be. Mitch Kinch has been awesome enough to let us use his car jack deadlift, and we're going to use that. So that's no straps, pure grip event.
Right on.
We've done that a couple times before whenever we were training with Mitch, and it gets competitive fast. So really looking forward to that one. The log event, it's a little bit different. So you heard in World's Strongest Man that their finale is a log ladder. Unfortunately, with the equipment that we can scrounge up, we can do a log ladder for the amateur men and the men. For the women, we're going to be doing a log for reps for 75 seconds at 85 pounds. For the amateur men, it's between the ladders between 125 and 200. And for the pro guys, 160 starting, 250 ending.
So do you have enough logs to do a ladder, or are you going to be do a rep, drop it, add the weight, do a rep?
We have enough logs. It's unfortunately the only one of our logs starts off at a reasonable weight. So I have a log that's 52 pounds, and then the next log up is 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's pretty hard to do a log ladder jumping like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's naked weight, obviously, with nothing on it. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's 200 empty.
Yeah.
And it's looking back, I kind of wish I'd gotten a smaller one, just so I'm not jumping right to 200 every time I do log. But it's nice to have the big one.
The big one I was able to buy off of Jay, who owns Naturally Fit. He used to have the Strongman gym in Charlottetown, but has since moved to a different clientele. So we were able to buy a little bit of stuff off him. And then Tyler Smith, he's kind of like the Danny Sutherland of the mainland. So Tyler comes in.
Shout out to Danny Sutherland, Pictou
Yeah,
County.
I
He's
got
your
a circus
guy.
dumbbell from
Tyler
Danny.
Smith,
Thank you.
Tyler Smith. No. So yeah, that's the next one. I'm really looking forward to the log ladder just because I've never done one in competition before. And I think a lot of the guys were kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Different.
Well, we did the deadlift ladder at the Renfrew Strongman Open last year, and that was a blast.
Do you remember how I did?
I think he came in last.
I near pooped my spine, and then I called it a day right there, and then moved on towards the what was it, the push and drag after that? That was a much better event.
So the deadlift ladder, I didn't know that there was like a finish line and you had to do the last deadlift and then step over the line, and then they stopped the clock. And I came in second by like the 2 seconds it took me to realize there was a line and I had to walk across it. That was a fun competition.
It really was. That was my first away comp.
Yeah, that was
The only
my
one I
first
ever
ever.
did before was Ryan's. So
Mm.
yeah, that was my first away.
Right on. So you guys you guys are both going to compete and volunteer basically the whole day as well.
Yeah.
Were you able to get enough volunteer help to alleviate some of that?
Yeah,
It's
for
been
the most
huge.
part.
It's been huge. We have two head referees and Troy McCallum and Mike Matag. Timer is Emma Coughlin. We have a results table with Jordan Dukart, who is actually going to compete, but unfortunately just with injury, so he's taken
Yeah.
over that. We have a video. We have somebody coming in to do our photos. We have a registered massage therapist that's going to come and offer their time. So people have been really coming out of the woodwork, including our sponsors, which I guess we should probably give a pretty
Yeah.
big hug and thank you.
Yeah.
In McQuaid's Trucking and Warehousing and RBC. This is a closed show. We can't bring in people just with the rules around. So for them to step up, it's huge. It's really made our competition from like going to be a good fun comp to we're giving out some small prizes. We're treating our volunteers right.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry I cut you off.
Oh, no, you didn't cut me off at all. Yeah, no, just to kind of echo off of what you said, it just allows us to put on a better production for sure. And especially in a time where obviously, things are a little bit more sparse, even though, we were talking earlier, I guess, about more competitions, but as far as actual advertising opportunities for companies and stuff like that. This is something like Zane said, like we can't have an audience. There's not really going to be any spectators. There will be photos and things like that. So it's definitely huge in a time like this that just shows like local support and PEI is very strong and people have a healthy, outlook towards a sport that we're trying to grow, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's fantastic. So do you guys hope that by doing this, you'll be able to host more shows in any given year? Because that
Yeah,
was
for sure.
the guys from Newfoundland. That was what they were getting at, was they were going to do Newfoundland Strongest and then move into hosting almost scheduled competitions throughout the year.
Yeah,
I,
go ahead, Zane.
I think fingers crossed if everything goes back to normal, so will the contests. So generally during the summer, during Alberton Days, Alex Walls hosts PEI Strongest Man. It brings a huge crowd. It's fantastic. And then Strongtober was supposed to be back this year, but then
Yeah, it
COVID
was.
once again threw another wrench in the gear. And the first time that happened, the gym was jammed. It was you had to like crowd surf to get to the rock to pick it up because there were so many people. It was
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah,
And then Troy McCollum put on one last year that was on, I think before Strongtober type of thing he did in September,
yeah. He
and he
did
was
in
going to put
September.
that
Yeah,
one again. It was once again they set up bleachers for it. It was ridiculous.
yeah. It was cool.
So for myself, I'm being a little, selfish. I kind of hope everything goes normal. I can take a step back. I'm having a baby. I'm hoping to like do some of that kind of stuff and just maybe compete just a little bit. But for this year, we just want to grow it and keep it here and keep a pulse in the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep the momentum going.
I think next year as long as there's a vaccine, you're going to see those shows that Ryan, Troy, and Alex puts on going to be well attended from people from the province, and then hopefully we can have everybody coming on over and trying to take our title from us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have intentions of having Strongtober next year, and that's the thing too. I was pretty bummed out that we weren't able to have it the way that it was meant to be this year, of course, with like athletes from off island and so on. It wasn't just kind of a PEI contest, even though it was here. Um, so next year, I mean, fingers crossed, like Zane said, as long as everything's smoothed over and there's not as much of a concern as far as travel and all that kind of stuff, then hopefully, you know, an array of shows will be here on PEI, and we can keep growing this sport bigger and bigger.
Right on.
And I'm kind of hoping that it takes some of the athletes, gives them that little spark to travel over across, because
Yeah.
Raw hosts a great competition. Mark, he definitely runs some of the funnest shows. That Picto Friendly usually has a couple people over there. Right before COVID, I was supposed to go up to Newfoundland to compete in one of Kyle's shows. Jake Dwyer's been doing a little bit of traveling with the strongman. Like, we're hoping that we're going to spark an interest and get the people out and moving, and then get some people back to show us what real strongmen look like yourself.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm still planning on coming in last at Atlantic's next weekend. So,
No,
although it's a pretty small field. There's only 4 of us signed up right now, I think.
Oh wow.
I know
It's
that
me, Patrick Kerr from Raw Power, Shane Gallant from Moncton, and Matt Sartoris.
still a strong field.
Yeah.
I know that Mitch and Alex were thinking about going over, but I think something got jumbled. Mitch was really training for it. Like, he's looking good. This strongman with the pro category, we're fighting for second. I was really hoping he'd go over to Atlantics and do some damage for us.
Yeah, it should be good. At least it'll be fast, which is
Yeah,
nice.
won't
With less
be all day.
competitors, it won't be there all day. But I'd like to, without COVID, I was planning on doing more traveling around to do more competitions, and COVID put a wrench in all that. So hopefully everything's back to normal by next year, because I would have loved to come do PEI Strongest Man. Even go to Newfoundland and do Newfoundland Strongest Man. That'd be awesome. But I'm actually going to be in PEI that weekend, but I'm going to be down east.
Not up west.
Not up west. So it's like we're going to be there for Thanksgiving with my in-laws, and it's 2.5 hours drive to where you guys are doing the competition to where I'm staying.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I can't, drive 2.5 hours, watch or compete for X amount of hours, then drive back 2.5.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be on the island.
You won't leave any Thanksgiving scraps there for them if you compete.
So PEI Strongest Man, 11 a.m. Saturday, October 10th in Elmsdale. It's going to be a farmer's yoke medley, bag over bar, deadlift for reps, car hold, no straps, pure grip event.
Yep.
And end with log ladder.
Stone. Oh, the stone ended up.
Oh, you guys are doing a stone too?
We're doing stone over bar, yeah.
For like a max stone or stone for reps?
Stone for reps. So it's 75 seconds, same kind of concept as the other events. And basically, some of it's out for debate right now. We might be up in the weight for the pro men's, but the women right now is 120 over 44 inches. The amateur is 180 over 52. And right now we have the pro at 52 inches as well at 220, but there is talk of us upping that stone as well.
Right on. So, once again, shout out to you guys, Zane Nicholson, Ryan Marsh, putting on PEI Strongest Man with a little bit of help. Can't wait to see the results. Can't wait to see the videos. Maybe we'll have to do a post-meet recap show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And we'll talk about how you guys made out and what you learned from running the show. And thanks for listening, and thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us. This was a pleasure.